Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and I am so happy and so excited today because we have a brand new company here on the channel that I get to take a look at, and it's one that I've been kind of following along and keeping up with their updates on Instagram for quite some time, and they've just released their first 3 figures, all of which look to be awesome. And the first one that I wanted to show you guys is one that I think many people are going to be really excited about. But before I even, obviously you know what it is from the thumbnail and everything, but before I get to the figure itself, here is the box. You can see it comes in almost like a classic, just regular cardboard box, but it has the Remote Times Figures logo there on the front, and that is obviously who this is from. It is from the Remote Times Figures company. And then here on the side, you can see some really cool artwork when it comes to this sticker. And it looks really cool, definitely very nicely done. It leads all the way around to the side. You can see I've opened the box, and that's because I have pre-assembled the figure already. But before we bring the figure in, you also get this little kind of a booklet here that comes with it. And as you open it up, it's not really a booklet, it's just kind of like a sheet of paper. You can see we've got the Allosaurus with the broken jaw from Dinosaur Revolution, and he has sculpted his very own version of this out. And I know that is a very iconic dinosaur when it comes to that documentary that many people are a massive fan of, myself included. I've been wanting a good model of this for years, and after this I don't think I'll need another one because this thing looks perfect. You can also see here on the back you basically have a little sheet that sort of shows off the assembly of the model, gives you some information and tips on doing so, and it's really cool to have something like this. If you are unfamiliar with kits and stuff, this will definitely help you to assemble your figure. So very nice to have included with this. And then here is the Allosaurus itself, and it might be a little hard to get a good look at it right now because it's still unpainted and everything. I have just assembled it, but I haven't covered the seams and painted it yet, which I will do before the review is up. But again, even here unpainted, this thing looks so good, looks so phenomenal here, and it just is the most perfect recreation of that Dinosaur Revolution Allosaurus. So as always, let's jump to a closer look at this right now. So straight out of the gate, one of the most defining features of that Allosaurus from that documentary is the crooked broken jaw. And you can see that he has sculpted that out so beautifully, giving it the exact look that that Allosaurus has in Dinosaur Revolution. And look at how awesome that looks. I'm beyond excited to get some paint work on this, but even again, looking at it unpainted, it looks so good. You can see the teeth are all sculpted out, and also again look pretty much exactly as it looks in the documentary. It's a little bit bright right now because when it comes, it is a very light tone, so it might be a little hard to pick up on how good the detail looks, but we'll of course take a look at it again once it has paint work on it. And you can see the nostrils right there, very impressive, very nice looking skin texture as you move through the face, very impressive scale detail. We have a few osteoderms down here on the lower jaw, nice wrinkling and creasing there in the eye socket area. The eye itself is sculpted nicely, and you can see the crests of the Allosaurus are also very nicely sculpted. It has that very thin appearance, just like the Allosaurus does have in Dinosaur Revolution. And as you lead up here into the back of the neck, you have all sorts of ridges and stuff here moving along the back of the neck, kind of a spiky look to the back of the Allosaurus from that documentary, and that's also captured very nicely here on this version. As you move down through the course of the neck, you can see all kinds of wrinkling and creasing because the Allosaurus has its head turned to the left quite nicely, quite drastically, so it would be wrinkling all of that skin up exactly as we see right there. The throat is also nicely sculpted and highlighted, and I'm going to try to reposition this a little bit because the tail's curved in our direction, so it's a little hard to kind of get this in here without the tail smacking the camera and stuff. But as you move down here into the body, you can see the shoulder blade right there protruding from the skin, and obviously the dinosaur has that look to it where it's kind of starving because the Allosaurus has a hard time getting food in that documentary, and that's exactly what we see here portrayed on this one, perfectly showing off that appearance to the Allosaurus, where you can see the rib cage really showing here in the stomach, and again, it just looks very shrink-wrapped for obvious reasons because that's exactly how it looks in the documentary. So when it comes to screen accuracy, this thing is absolutely perfect. You can also see, if we get nice and close, how impressive the scale detail is here, moving along through the course of the body. It's easily one of the highest quality models that I've ever acquired when it comes to a resin model. It's just so unreasonably crisp and high quality as a whole. As you move down here into the arm, you can see the muscle definition is nicely sculpted out. We've got some beautifully sculpted hands, very large nail and everything up here. You can see the nails are sculpted in perfect fashion. And then as we move back here toward the thigh, you can see how the skin is kind of stretching off of the stomach here, leading into the thigh. Again, just really nice minor details like that always impress me. As you look at it from this vantage point, you can really see how malnourished the Allosaurus is. Moving back here, you can see the hip bone nicely portrayed. Again, extremely impressive scale detail moving through. As you move down, you have the muscle definition in the thigh, very nicely defined. You've got the knee there in the front of the leg, very nice big bulging calf muscle. And then as you lead down into the foot of our Allosaurus, you can see that as well. Looks great. We've got the dew claw sculpted out back there. Very impressive sculpting for the toes. Again, the texturing continues to look incredible moving down. The nails look very nice. Even the undersides of the feet are really highly detailed, so it's easily, again, a masterpiece when it comes to this dinosaur. Moving up here into the tail, you've got a few skin wrinkles. You can also see some nice creasing and stuff moving out. The tail is curved in our direction, so as you lead out, you'll see lots of creases and stuff because, again, the tail does bend toward us, and as you lead out, you have a few more of those kind of like spikes and ridges. I don't know how you would term those, but out here on the tip of the tail, again, exactly as you see in the documentary. And then as we turn the dinosaur around, you can see, again, the head is now facing away from us. You can see the head sculpt looks gorgeous. You've got the ears sculpted out back there. Leading down the neck, you can now see how the skin is kind of stretching because the dinosaur is looking away. And we continue to have, again, that very thin, very malnourished appearance to the body of the Allosaurus moving along. The arm is in pretty much the same position over here as we had seen on the first side, which I think looks really good, very natural. Moving back here, you can see how the leg is taking a little bit of a step forward, so we've got a little bit of a wrinkling going on here to the skin in the stomach region. Again, the rib cage showing very nicely, and the scale detail just popping in. Easily some of the most impressive fine detail as well as quality that I've ever seen. And then moving down, you've got the knee, again the calf muscle, and then leading down into the foot, you've got an excellent looking foot sculpt, very bird-like, nicely sculpted nails, again looking genuinely sharp. And then we lead up, and now the tail curves away from us, which again was obvious considering it bent toward us on the first side. But man, is this thing ever an incredible looking Allosaurus. And you can also see the detailing here of the stomach region looks great, but there's also a magnet on the underside of the foot, and that's actually how we connect it to the base. And if we bring the base up, you can see the base is just basically a nice little earthy area, but you've got the magnet there where you would place the Allosaurus onto, so it stands nicely on the base. And it works very well. I did, obviously, at the beginning of the review, I had it standing on there, and it worked really nicely. But the base as a whole has a nice texturing to it, really nice, highly detailed appearance. And again, at this point, we're going to go ahead, get both the base and the Allosaurus painted up, and then we'll come back and check out the final product. And here is the finished product now after I've painted it up and built it and everything, and I'm pretty happy with it. This figure is, well, this dinosaur specifically isn't the easiest to reference. You know, you see it a lot in the Dinosaur Revolution documentary, but it's kind of like some points you see it has like greenish colors, other points you see it has like yellowish browns and stuff. And I did a lot of homework trying to reference this dinosaur to get the paint job down as perfectly as I could, and it took quite a while, you know, of rewatching the episode numerous times before I could pick out all the different tones of color that I noticed on it, and I'm pretty happy with the final product. Again, I think it turned out at least half decent, and you know, of course, a lot of that has to do with how impressive the Allosaurus itself is. When you see it from, you know, a little bit further away, you can see how gorgeous it is and how spot on to the documentary it is. You know, if you get somebody that's a little bit more talented at painting, theirs might turn out a little better, but like I said, I was pretty happy with mine. You can see how impressive it is as a whole, especially up here in the top when you can really see how nice the skin texture is, the scale detail. You know, moving down the back, you can see how gorgeous that scale detail is as you move through the course of the figure. Again, it is absolutely incredible how nice the actual fine detail on this Allosaurus is, which does help to make it, quite a bit easier, honestly, to paint than if you had to struggle to bring the detail out. You don't have that problem on this Allosaurus. It is just so unbelievably highly detailed. It nearly paints itself. But again, like I said, I was pretty happy with the final product. I tried to replicate even the way the white stripe works because, when the jaw is crooked on one side, the white stripe lines up, but when it's crooked on the other side, of course, it doesn't line up, so I tried to match that up, and again, even the light tone on the tip of the snout, which is something that you do see on that Allosaurus in the documentary, I tried to replicate, but absolutely incredible, honestly. This thing is, in my opinion, a dream come true, pretty much, if you are a fan of the Dinosaur Revolution documentary, because I've wanted a good model of this Allosaurus for so long that I am just over the moon excited to actually have one, and not only an Allosaurus model of this particular version, but I would honestly say the definitive version, because I don't see anybody releasing one that's any better than this. This is as top of the line, as top of quality as you're going to find anywhere. Like I said, pretty much as I would put it, a masterpiece. And I painted the base, though there isn't really a whole lot going on. I just tried to kind of give it a little bit of an earthy look, and it turned out pretty decent, but I'm considering maybe adding a little vegetation or something to it. But in the episode where you do see this Allosaurus, there isn't a whole lot around as far as like the vegetation and stuff. There is some, but it's not like a lush, beautiful valley of greenery, so I tried to paint it and replicate it as close to what I saw in the documentary as well. So hopefully the base turned out pretty decent. Now I'm really excited to actually get this put on the base and check out the entire thing together, so let's do that. Now, before we actually do put it on the base, I also wanted to show you guys that within the box, I actually didn't notice it when I first pulled it out, because this Allosaurus actually comes with the way I got all three of his figures at once. So the Allosaurus comes packaged with the Centrosaurus, which he also has out, which I'll have up for review very soon. And this was kind of buried underneath the Dinosaurus, so I didn't notice it right away. But we have a Remote Times Figures, what I think is a sticker. Yeah, it definitely looks to be a sticker, which is really cool. Definitely a nice thing to kind of put behind the figures to show you who, again, created these. But on top of that, we also have this, which you can see, Allosaurus, broken jaw, again, Remote Times logo down there, and a gorgeous image of the Allosaurus up here. And if I had only taken a look at this, I probably would have had a pretty good idea of what the coloration of the Allosaurus was straight out of the gate, because this very clearly shows me, or at least gives me a pretty good idea. But honestly, I think I did a pretty decent job of replicating it without actually seeing this paper prior. You can see it definitely looks pretty reminiscent of each other, I would say. So definitely cool to have, had that included, but again, didn't even notice it. It's a really nice piece, though. Definitely something that'll be fun to add to the background, again, of this Allosaurus. But let's go ahead, set it here on the base. And like I said earlier, there's a magnet in the foot, which allows you to just kind of put it on there. And there we go. It's now standing on the base and looking absolutely awesome. Definitely really cool to see the piece actually here on the base and looking complete, and definitely one heck of a visual. If you are, again, a fan of the documentary, you'll definitely love this. But as far as a size goes for our Allosaurus, for a length from the snout to the tail, about 9 3/4 inches, or around 24.5, a little over, actually, closer maybe to 25 centimeters. Now, of course, it would be a little bit longer, but everything's kind of curved in this direction, which sort of gives it a little bit of a shorter length, but of course also gives it a bit of a nice visual, a little bit of life to the model. But as far as the height goes, I'd say right around 6 inches, or about 15.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, here is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Golovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, as well as the Collect A human figure that you get with a lot of the 1/40th scale deluxe figures. I've actually had quite a few people requesting that I start including him in size comparisons, and although I have a lot of videos already filmed, he'll be sprinkling into a lot of the reviews here moving forward, just to help more people, again, get a better idea of the size of these figures. But you can see, again, with these other ones here included, this Allosaurus definitely sports a nice, impressive size, especially there next to Papo T-Rex. I would say rivaling the height of Mr. Papo Rex. So obviously showing you that overall the Allosaurus has a nice size to it. And then we've got the randoms, as we have the Schleich Safari LTDU Tyrannus, and Collect a Deluxe Dimetrodon for another comparison. And then furthering with the randoms, we have a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus just to stand in again to give you another idea of the size. Then for a comparison with another Allosaurus, we have the Mojo Fun version of the Allosaurus, as well as the recently released How Long Good version, the Nanmu version of the Allosaurus, which is pretty similar in size, actually, to this Remote Times Figures version. You could definitely see these two, even though they're posed very differently, are pretty similar in size. And then for one final comparison, and maybe one of the most popular Allosaurus figures out there, we have the Safari LTD version, stepping in for one final comparison here with our Remote Times version. So this brand new Remote Times Figures Dinosaur Revolution Allosaurus is awesome. I honestly can't even begin to stress how awesome this is. Again, I am a massive fan of Dinosaur Revolution. What's actually pretty funny about that is when Dinosaur Revolution first came on, my wife and I were at the hospital. She had just given birth to one of my children, and I spent the evening sitting in the hospital because we had stayed overnight for a few days, and I was just watching Dinosaur Revolution all the time in the hospital, which is a pretty funny story about that documentary. Regardless, again, this version of the Allosaurus is so picture perfect, it is absolutely ridiculous, and I've wanted a good model of this for so long because when it comes to that documentary, I always felt like this Allosaurus was the standout over everything else in that show. This dinosaur had just so much character to him, such a cool story, and a lot of sympathy. Like, I really felt terrible for this Allosaurus. I wanted to take him home and let him be my friend, but again, just having a model out now of it, as soon as I had seen Remote Times Figures was making this, I was instantly sold on this and just wanted to get it in my hands so badly and put it up here on the channel for you guys. But now actually having it here, finally having it put together and painted and everything, this thing is, like I said, absolutely incredible. I don't know for sure how good my paint apps are, if they've matched up perfectly to the Allosaurus in the documentary, but I'm pretty happy with it, and I think, again, it's mostly due to how impressive the figure itself is. Sculpt-wise, he has captured every ounce of detail perfectly on this, and not just when it comes to the fine detail, but the general appearance. Like, literally everything that I see on this is exactly how the Allosaurus appears, which really shows you how good Remote Times Figures is when it comes to capturing what they see on screen. So definitely an awesome model when it comes to screen accuracy. The fact that this is a model kit is also pretty fun because it gives you the task of, building and painting it, or sending it to a paleo artist. You could do that, but I had a lot of fun building and painting this and trying to replicate the paint scheme as best as I possibly could. So that as well is a load of fun. The idea of connecting the dinosaur to the base with a magnet is also something I'm a pretty big fan of because I think it just makes it nice and easy. You don't have to try to damage the foot if like the pegs are too tight or something. I had that happen with a Nanmu Allosaurus actually. I really messed the foot up on it trying to get the peg into the foot because it wouldn't fit well, and it's just still kind of messed up to this day because of it. But when you have the magnet idea, like, it's just so easy and it works really well on top of everything. So definitely a nice way to attach the dinosaur to the base. So when it comes to a very first initial release, I really don't think that Remote Times Figures could have come up with anything more impressive than this Allosaurus, because this is awesome in every way. If you are interested in picking one of these up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that, as well as, of course, the link to check them out on Instagram, where you can keep up to date on everything they are creating, and of course grab yourself one of these amazing Allosaurus. So make sure you check that link, make sure you also grab this Allosaurus and add it to your collection, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.